lean over the counter, say "hey" to the little glowing box. And somehow, out of the hum of the fridge, the dishwasher, a kid yelling in the next room, it hears you. It pulls your one mumbly sentence out of all that noise and turns it into words. That is a small miracle, and for almost the entire history of computers, machines were terrible at it. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Understanding talking is one of the hardest things a brain does. We mumble, we talk over music, we trail off, we have accents, we switch languages mid-sentence. A kid takes years to get good at it. Years of listening before they can pull "I want juice" out of a noisy playground. So how do you teach a machine to do something it took you your whole childhood to learn? In September 2022, 6 researchers at OpenAI published a paper with a boring name and a wild result. Robust speech recognition via large-scale, weak supervision. They called the model Whisper. This is the episode where AI learned to listen. Because look at what we've watched machines learn to do in this series. They learned to see. That was AlexNet, the day computers could finally tell a cat from a dog. They learned to read and write on an engine called attention. They taught themselves to think. They cracked the origami of life. They learned to dream up pictures and to out-imagine us at a game. But here's what was still missing. Every one of those machines was, in a way, deaf. Whisper gave AI its ears. For decades, the recipe for teaching a machine to listen was simple. Record audio in a quiet lab and pay experts to transcribe every word perfectly. That gives you beautifully clean data, but only a tiny amount of it. A few hundred, maybe 1,000 hours. And a model trained on pristine studio audio falls apart the moment it hears a real kitchen. It aced the test it studied for. It flunked the real world. So Whisper's authors made a bet that the opposite recipe would win. The internet is already full of audio that comes with text attached. Videos with captions, podcasts with transcripts, lectures with subtitles. Nobody made that text in a lab. It's imperfect, a little messy. That's the weak in weak supervision. But there is an ocean of it. So instead of 1,000 perfect hours, what if you trained on a mountain of pretty good hours? That's the whole gamble. Quantity over polish. So, how big is the mountain? Whisper was trained on 680,000 hours of audio. Let me make that real. If you started listening right now and never stopped, no sleep, no breaks. 680,000 hours is about 77 years of non-stop listening. A whole human lifetime of nothing but hearing people talk. That is how much it heard before it ever met you. Here's why that matters, in kid terms. You got good at understanding talking by hearing a lot of it. Birthday parties, playgrounds, grandparents on the phone. Whisper did the same thing, just turned way up. It heard so many voices in so many rooms with so much noise that by the time it meets your mumbly voice in a loud kitchen, it's basically heard it all before. Nothing surprises it. But it didn't just listen to English. And this is where it gets wild. Of those hours, around 117,000 were in other languages. Almost 100 of them. Plus another 100 and some thousand hours of people speaking one language while the correct English translation scrolled alongside. So Whisper didn't just learn to hear. It learned to hear the whole world. And here's the part that makes engineers grin. It's one model that does several jobs at once. Hear Spanish, write Spanish. Hear Spanish, write it in English. Hear something, and just tell you which language it is. Before Whisper, you'd glue together 3 separate systems for that. Whisper does it all in one brain. You just whisper a little instruction at the start telling it which job you want. Which raises the question, how does it do that? The trick is beautifully simple. Before the audio, the model reads a few special little command words. This is the transcribe job. This is the translate job. The language is French. They're like buttons on a remote. Press transcribe and it writes what it hears. Press translate and it flips it into English. Same model, different button. One brain wearing different hats. Now, parent, here's the under the hood part. And it's a callback. Whisper first turns sound into a picture. A spectrogram, a little heat map of which pitches are loud at each moment. Then it reads that picture with the exact engine from episode 5. The transformer, built on attention. Remember the spotlight? One half of Whisper shines that spotlight across the sound. The other half writes the words out, one at a time. The ears are new. The engine is the same one that's powered this whole series. So did the gamble pay off? Here's the result, and it's subtle but huge. The old models were like a student who memorized one practice test. Whisper walked into exams it had never studied for. Audio from datasets it was never trained on, and it still got them right. The researchers call that zero shot. It wasn't cramming for the test, it just understood speech. And the headline number. Across a big spread of those surprise tests, Whisper made roughly half as many mistakes as the best models that came before it. Cut the errors nearly in half. Not by being smarter on one test, but by being unrattled on all of them. The paper's word for that is the most important word in the title. Robust. How good is robust? The researchers compared Whisper to actual humans transcribing the same messy audio. And on that real-world mess, Whisper got close. Its mistakes landed in the same ballpark as a professional human listener's. Not perfect, not magic, but for the first time, the machine listened to the chaos of real speech about as reliably as a person. So the obvious question for a family, so what? Where do I actually meet this thing? You meet it constantly. You just don't see its name. The auto captions that appear on a video. The app that turns a voice memo into a typed note. The subtitles that suddenly work in another language. A big chunk of that quietly runs on Whisper or things just like it. Because of one more decision the authors made. Maybe the most important one of all. They gave it away. OpenAI released Whisper Open for free so anyone could download it and run it themselves. And we've seen this beat before in this series. AlexNet ran on gaming graphics cards. DeepSeek R1 was released open. Stable Diffusion put image making on your laptop. Whisper did it for listening. So overnight, a developer in any classroom, any country, could give their app working ears. Powerful AI that hears, handed to everyone. Now, the honest part, because we don't do hype here. Whisper isn't flawless. On really rough audio, it can hallucinate, confidently typing words nobody actually said, or getting stuck, repeating a phrase. It's better at some languages than others, depending on how much it heard. But that's the trade you make for a model that bravely tries on everything, and it's getting better every year. And here's why a family should care. Beyond the tech, captions for someone who can't hear. A grandparent's voice note in another language turned into something you can read. A doctor's visit transcribed so nothing gets missed. When a machine learns to listen, it doesn't just help gadgets, it helps people hear each other. That's the part worth getting excited about. So zoom out with me, because this is the journey we've been on. A machine learned to see. AlexNet, it got an engine. Attention is all you need. We told it to show its work. Chain of thought. New skills switched on at scale. Emergent abilities. It taught itself to think. DeepSeek R1, it cracked the shape of life. AlphaFold, it learned to dream up pictures. Stable Diffusion, it out-imagined us at a game. AlphaGo, 9 landmarks, and every single one of them was, in its own way, deaf. Until this one. This is the machine that learned to listen. So tonight, when you lean over the counter and say, "Hey," to that little glowing box, remember what's leaning back. Something that sat through 77 years of human voices in nearly 100 languages, just so it could do the hardest, kindest thing one mind can do for another, and actually understand you. That's Whisper. The day AI learned to listen,